sometimes I practice and rapture and pleasure, they never come, Ajahn. It's just, I go straight from bodily fabrication to mental processes, and it seems like there's nothing to feel.
It's okay. It's like at the moment we are training. So it's like you're going to gym. So you are repeatedly doing same instructions so that eventually you become get used to with that, and you will be able to remember them. And then by remembering it, eventually we practice it, and so eventually you will see some changes in your physical appearance. Same with this as well. We are practicing like a training. So we are training ourselves as a result. So you don't need to rush yourself. Take your time and working, and then eventually you will attain. The instruction is actually you have to work with the first four principles. The first tetra, which has got the 8 principles. So working with that and going back and forth, and will give you more insight into it. And even that often people find very difficult because of certain views and certain concepts and the practices they have. So they normally spend a lot of time just 2 breaths, long breath and a short breath, and that's enough for me. And this is my meditation. That's enough. And attached to that, and oftentimes people also not only paying attention to this breath and happy, but also that after spending some times or practicing or working with this breath, I feel calm, and that's enough for me. And I can see that I feel much calmer, and that's enough for me. Like that. So again, this is the initial stage. We are working with that 2 stages, and once we become familiar, and then we understand it properly, then again, rather than just being with that, extend a little bit, at least of the third one, third and a fourth. So working with this third and a fourth, and what happens, without you recognizing the piti, the rapture and the happiness, you will experience it. And when you're working with this piti and happiness, again, I have mentioned many times in a couple of weeks that it's very easy that we attach to it and we are happy with it and we settle there. I don't need anything anymore now. So I am enlightened. So that's sort of a mindset also developed as well. And this is another case that a lot of people kind of having this view and paying attention to the breath, and I can work with the sensation, I can observe the sensation, and I am happy with that. And this is also there too. And actually in practice of this Anapana meditation, Anapanasati, is actually we have to go beyond it. We have to leave even that one. So that's why these feelings, this rapture as a piti, rapture and a sukha, the happiness that we attain, sometimes is known as the mara, obstacle, or foe, F-O-E, foe, that actually keeps us away from developing further, and also obstructing us to gain the liberation. So this is the one. So that's why don't need to worry. Work slowly. For myself, and this is my personal experience on this Anapanasati, which I have mentioned to Tusara a long time ago, that I've studied it, and then my journey into the Buddhism began from the practice of Anapanasati. But I never felt confidence. Never felt confident teaching on it. Right? And then it took me quite a while until like a couple of like a last year or a year before, even when in 2019, when I was practicing, I felt confused, and I couldn't feel any connection to it. So I never taught, and I did not want it to compromise at all in the practice. So that's why in the past I was only focusing on the rising, falling of abdomen, and which I felt very confident on that. Even saying confidence doesn't mean I am able to explain everything, because it has also 16 different knowledges that you have to comprehend, which I am not confident on that either. But the basic things I am confident, and whenever people practice, then I can understand where they are at and how much they have been practicing and how much they have developed. But for the Anapanasati, I spent quite some times and reflecting and practicing. And then just last year, I think, I mentioned to Sarah that, now I feel like I can see the connection. And that's how I compromise myself to explore and share and teach on this Anapanasati. And this is for the first time working on this topic, actually. Working on this topic.
And then I heard that it's not good to expect anything when you're expecting like results, like when you're meditating. Like I know there's a thin line, like the expectation, and you want to improve, but more you expect, I think you don't get it.
Yeah. It is. There's two things to remember in this expectation. One, we have to expect the development, but in the meantime, we are not expecting it to happen immediately. But persistent practice is required. So it's like we know the destination, but we are not rushing to be in there. So we are working on that.
I heard that even you have to let go of Nibbana to attain Nibbana.
Sorry, that is true in one aspect.
Okay.
I missed that, Sishara. What did you say? What?
Nibbana is like enlightenment, expectation of enlightenment.
So even expecting to be enlightened, you have to give up. So that's you have to let go of. See this here. Actually, this is the actually point here we are working on.
Okay.
So there's the formation of the mind. So we are living in the past memory, the perceptions, rather than living in the present moment. How the mind is creating, how the mind is forming, how the mind is going in there. The practice is we are watching this mind itself, that how this is proliferating.
Just right now.
Yeah.
That kind of,
The Pali word is called asada and adinava.
Okay.
So that is basically we are attached to our feelings and expectations, and with that expectation we are keeping ourselves away from the expected results. Whereas when we practice properly, we know the destination, but we do not worry about it. Because the moment when you arrive, there is a saying, there is a Nibbana, but nobody is going to Nibbana. See, there is a Nibbana, nobody is going to Nibbana.
Oh, I see.
Do you understand?
Because you lose yourself.
Yes. There is no self, there is no personal entity going into the Nibbana.
Yeah.
The moment when you lose the entity, the identity, that moment you are in Nibbana. So that's why there is a Nibbana, but no one is going to Nibbana. Let's recite the Anapanasati together. At the moment, we are on the second tetra, that is the contemplation of a feeling. And within that contemplation of a feeling, we have been discussing on the third, which is the Cittapatisamvedhi asasamiti and passasamiti sikkati, which is trained himself to breathe in sensitive to mental processes or the mental formation. And in terms of the mental formation, I think we have been discussing on that each mental state to arise, it requires two aspects. One is feeling and another one is perception. Right? And how feeling arises and how perception arises. And on that, I think we went through quite in extent. And I believe that you understand that. Okay. Meanwhile, there are another one or two discourses that actually gives further detail how feeling arises. Okay, and then also how this feeling can lead to the liberation. Right? So, in this case, I thought that I will read one particular discourse, okay, which is quite interesting and which normally, even nowadays, we have that view as well. Like we have, nowadays, we have a certain group of people saying that they have no religion. They are not what's called a deist, but they have no religion. They do not believe in any. Right? And then they have that some form of a belief. And then now they would like to name by themselves, like no religion. Even in statistics, when you have in statistics, there is no religion. And in Scotland in particular, the number of no religion increased quite high as well. Right? And now, this concept of I have no religion is also one kind of a view or one kind of a belief. You cannot deny that one. And that's exactly what's happening in this one discourse. And it's talking about the feelings and how we perceive those feelings and take that feeling as me and a mine. And understanding of that feeling and understanding of that me and a mine concept actually helps us to recognize that whatever view that we have and we attach to it, in fact, is actually we are holding certain views. And then the concept is, as long as you have a certain views, then that means you still have some form of attachment to yourself, that this is me, and you're identifying with that view. And that actually signifies that actually we haven't attained the Sotapanna yet. The first ladder of this noblehood. And that's why we are learners. We are learners. In Buddhism, the moment when you fully understood, and that is the state called Arahat, so that is actually graduation. Until that we are learning. Learning to learn. So learning. And until we attain this first noblehood, which is the Sotapanna, stream enterer, we are actually still in the school level. School level studying. Right? But anyway, this discourse is related to Venerable Sariputta. Venerable Sariputta. Who wants to tell Venerable Sariputta how he became a Sariputta? Anyone? Volunteer to tell the story of a Sariputta? See, I am getting old as well. So this discourse is in from this middle length discourse is 74, and this is called Diga Nakha Sutta. Diga Nakha Sutta. So 603. Diga Nakha Sutta. Venerable Sariputta was. So Venerable Sariputta was the right hand of the Buddha. He was equal to the Buddha in terms of the knowledge. And he became an ascetic. He was a wealthy man. In his teen age, he went on with his friend. With his friend went on, using every possible indulgence, indulging himself because of a wealthy man, a wealthy family, coming from wealthy family. Both him and his friend. His friend is Kolita. His name was Upatisha. So Sariputta was Upatisha, and his friend was a Kolita. And one day both went to see the
Carnival.
Yeah.
you remember now?
Yeah.
Carnival.
Yeah.
Nightclubs.
Strip place.
So you went to this, let's say the show, and then both had the thought, our life is very short. We will not be able to live more than 100 years. Why are we wasting our time? There must be something more fruitful and more beneficial than this one. Then they both shared that thought, and then they both decided to give up the family life. And they went into different teachers and went to study in different teachers, and then eventually they found one a great teacher, Sanjaya, who also was one of the great teachers at that time, and lots of devotees and disciples. So then this Upatissa and Kolita both went to that institute and learned from this Sanjaya. And then while they were there, after studied all the teachings from the Sanjaya, they felt that this is not the end. This is not the end. There's something more than this. This is not leading to the liberation yet. So then both made a decision that whenever they see other person, other teacher, or other knower, wise one, then we will follow that. And then whoever meets first, they have to come and tell. So they are very good friends, very faithful. It's very difficult to find nowadays. So the Upatissa, he meets the one monk, one of the 5 monks. Who are the 5 monks? So the 5 monks were the monks. They heard the first sermon of the Buddha and attained the enlightenment. And after enlightenment, and then another 50 people came to join the congregation, and then after having 60 disciples, then the Buddha sent them to teach the Dhamma, not letting them go in the same way 2 person. So everybody scattered and went around and sharing the Dhamma. And among these 5 disciples, the first disciples, the last one is Asaji, he happened to be in that city, in that village where the Upatissa and Kolita with his teacher were living. And on that day, Sariputta also went begging a food, and this Asaji, he also was begging a food. And he found, the Sariputta, the Upatissa, he found that his complexion, his demeanor was so calm, and with that, immediately the conviction, the conviction towards this Asajit, the Sariputta gained. And then he followed the Upatissa or a Sariputta, the same person. So he followed the Asajit until he finished the meal. And then he approached and asked, "Whom are you become a monk? Who is your teacher? What your teacher teaches?" And this Asaji was so humble. He was enlightened. But he was so humble, he said, "Oh, my teacher is the Tathagata, the Buddha, but I have been a monk very short time. I know very little." He's enlightened, but he said, "I know very little." Very humble man. And then Sariputta or the Upatissa asked, "It's okay, whatever you know, tell me." So, what was the teaching?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So, whatever anything that arises with the cause, that is subject to cease. That only 2 sentences he spoke. And this Upatissa got enlightened. In the first ladder, the first stage, Sotapanna. And I have been reading for a long time. I haven't been. So then he devoted himself as a disciple of the Buddha before he saw the Buddha. And then he asks, "Where is the Buddha?" And then he knows that where the Buddha is staying, but he has this vows that he has to go and tell his friend, Kolita. So he went back to tell his friend Kolita in the institute, and he didn't only tell to the Kolita, but told all the students in the institute, right? And then what happened was, after hearing, all the students want to go to the Buddha. And then the Upatissa went to ask permission from the teacher, Sanjaya, and also ask him to, "Let's go together." Do you know what was he said? Sanjaya, the teacher, he asked, "Upatissa, in the world, who do you think are the most between wise and foolish?" And Upatissa said, "Oh, there are more foolish than a wise one." Then Sanjaya said, "Okay, you go to the wise, but I will stay with the foolish." That was a Sanjaya. Okay? He also, in my understanding, he also wanted to go. But he had this conceit that I am a teacher. And I don't want to lose my status. So he denied to go. And then as all the students left, he felt very traumatized. And that's how he died. Now, within that students, there was another one student, he didn't go. That was a Diganaka. That was again Upatissa's nephew. Upatissa's nephew didn't join. And then when Upatissa along with his friend Kolita and other friends went to the Buddha, this Diganakha, his nephew, was thinking and very unhappy that why my uncle left our teacher and went to another teacher. So after 2 weeks, he wanted to know what my uncle is doing and why he didn't come back. So the Diganakha went to see the Buddha as a wanderer and as a person who doesn't have a belief in the Buddha. Right? While approaching the Buddha, Diganakha didn't pay respect at all. He was just standing. Right? He was standing and having this conversation. While he was having a conversation with the Buddha, Venerable Upatisha, after he came to the Buddha, Buddha gave him a new name called Sariputta. Right? And his friend Kolita, he became the Moggallana. Okay, Moggallana, he was very straightforward. He doesn't think too much. Whatever teacher said to him, he just practiced. And that's how this Venerable Moggallana attained enlightenment quite quickly. And he is foremost in the magical power similar to the Buddha. Whereas the Sariputta was very analytical, not easy to be believed. Whatever he heard, he will analyze first and investigate. And as a result of that, he wasn't enlightened yet. His friend already enlightened, but he wasn't enlightened. And so this 2 weeks passed. Now this Sariputta or Upatisha now, uncle, he's fanning the Buddha, fanning the Buddha, and Diganakha is standing there, his nephew standing there and having this conversation. So this discourse is about that conversation.
Oh,
Okay? Now, so this conversation, this is not that long, just the 2 pages, 4 pages, okay. So, first have I heard, on one occasion the Blessed One was living at the Rajagaha in the boar's cave on the mountain Valtar peak. Then the wanderer Diganakha went to the Blessed One and exchanged greetings with him. So Diganakha means a long, Nakha means a nail. So he obviously had a long nail. So that's how his name is. But later on, he is also referred as his surname. Later on. When this courteous and amiable talk was finished, he stood at one side and said to the Blessed One, Master Gautama. So here again, the word master, sometimes it's also translated as Mr. Okay, when somebody is translating as a master, that means a translator is expressing his faith on the Buddha. But when somebody is translating a Mr., it's more of a like he's representing the person of a Diganakha. Okay? So there's 2 translations there. So the Master Gautama, and now here this is the nice one. My doctrine and view is this. Nothing is acceptable to me. He said, nothing is acceptable to me. And then then the Buddha said, this view of yours, so his clan's name is Agivesana. So now on, he will be referred as Agivesana rather than a Diganakha. So Diganakha was his like a nickname. This view of yours, Agivesana, nothing is acceptable to me, is not at least that view acceptable to you? If this view of mine were acceptable to me, now he's replying, Master Gautama, it too would be the same. It too would be the same. then, well, Agivesana, the Buddha is saying, there are plenty in the world who says, it too would be the same, it too would be the same. Yet they do not abandon that view, and they take up still some other view. Those are few in the world who say, it too would be the same, it too would be the same, and who abandon that view and do not take up some other view. Well, so there are very few people that not having any views. Okay? And then further on, Buddha said, there are some recluses and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: everything is acceptable to me. Well, so this is basically, do not want to have any quarrel. Whatever you say, it's okay. Okay? And then there are some recluse and Brahmins whose doctrine and view is this: nothing is acceptable to me. Well, so everything is acceptable, nothing is acceptable, and then something is acceptable. Something is acceptable to me, something is not acceptable to me. So there are four views. Okay? And among these, the view of those recluse and Brahmins who hold that doctrine and view, everything is acceptable to me, is close to the lust, close to bondage, close to delighting, close to holding, close to clinging. The view of those recluse and Brahmins who hold the doctrine and view, nothing is acceptable to me, is close to non-lust, close to non-bondage, close to non-delighting, close to non-holding, close to non-clinging. Right? When this was said, the wanderer Diganaka remarked, Master Gautama commands my point of view. Master Gautama commands my point of view. Agivesana, as to those recluse and Brahmin who hold the doctrine and view, something is acceptable to me, something is not acceptable to me. This view of theirs is to what is acceptable is close to lust, close to bondage, close to delighting, close to holding, close to clinging, while the view of theirs as to what is not acceptable is close to non-lust, close to non-bondage, close to non-delighting, close to non-holding, close to non-clinging. And now, Agivesana, a wise man among those who hold the doctrine and a view, everything is acceptable to me, consider this. Now, this is the Buddha is giving conclusions now. If I obstinately adhere to my view, everything is acceptable to me, and declare only this is true, nothing else is wrong, anything else is wrong, then I may clash with the two other who hold the doctrine and view nothing is acceptable to me, and with a recluse of a Brahmin who holds the doctrine and a view, something is acceptable to me, something is not acceptable to me, I may clash with those two. So basically saying that whatever view you are holding, it will be clash with other views, and with that, basically you are basically causing trouble and quarrel, disputes, and that goes on. Whichever, something is acceptable, nothing is acceptable, like that. So whenever you have this view, then you are having a quarrel with another person's view who may not agree with that one. Okay? So I'm not reading all, going there again. Now, this body made of a material form. Okay? Now coming back to our own self. This body made of a material form consisting of the four great elements, and then procreated by a mother and a father and built up out of a boiled rice and a porridge, is subject to impermanence. Subject to impermanence, to being worn and rubbed away, to dissolution and disintegration. It should be regarded as impermanent and a suffering, as a disease and a tumor, goes on. And then now here comes, there are, agivesana, 3 kinds of feelings: pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. On the occasion when one feels pleasant feeling, one does not feel painful feeling. Yeah? You get me? Yeah? When you feel pleasant feeling, one does not feel painful feeling, or neither painful nor pleasant feeling. On that occasion, one feels only pleasant feelings. You feel only one pleasant feeling. On the occasion when when one feels painful feeling, one does not feel pleasant feelings, or neither painful nor pleasant feelings. On that occasion, one feels only painful feelings. Okay? So this is quite a important part to understand, that we feel only one feelings and not 2 feelings at the same time. Feel only one feelings. And same with this neutral feeling. And further on, pleasant feelings is impermanent, conditioned, dependently arisen, subject to destruction, vanishing, fading away, and ceasing. And the same with a painful feeling, right? Painful feeling also impermanent. It is also condition created, and also this arise through the depending on something else and subject to destruction, vanishing, fading, and ceasing. Seeing thus a well-taught noble. Now, this is one who practice and understand this. Seeing thus a well-taught noble disciple becomes disenchanted with pleasant feeling, disenchanted with a painful feeling, disenchanted with a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. Being disenchanted, he becomes dispassionate. Through dispassionate, his mind is liberated. When it is liberated, there comes the knowledge. It is liberated. He understands birth is destroyed. The holy life has been lived. What had to be done has been done. There is no more coming to any state of beings. Do you understand now? Alright? So now on that occasion, Venerable Sariputta was standing behind the Buddha, fanning him. Then he thought, the Blessed One indeed speak to us of the abandoning of things through direct knowledge. The Sublime One indeed speaks to us of the relinquishing of these things through direct knowledge. And that's how Venerable Sariputta becomes enlightened. Okay? So here, now, relinquishing or abandoning the feeling or overcoming this feeling by direct knowledge, or called wisdom. Okay? So using wisdom to abandon the feelings. And here also we have to remember, each feelings that we are feeling, only one feeling at a time. And this feeling itself is changing all the time. And as a result, we see that our mind also changing all the time. And with that, we should not be attached to this feeling that this is my feeling, this is me, I am this feeling. So that's emotion as well. Each emotion that we are experiencing is caused by something else. So that's why I normally used to say that emotion is your reaction to any feelings, and that is impermanent. And that emotion you have created on the basis of your sanya, your perception about that certain things, and you are having your own self in that position. As a result, the emotion comes. That's why you become angry, happy, like that. Whereas when you able to comprehend that, what happens? These emotions will not be there. Everything is, you become observing that. When there is no I, nothing will be causing any troubles. So there will be no views, there will be nothing that causes any conflict in one another. So this is one way of dealing with the feelings. Okay? So another way of dealing with the feelings is developing your samadhi, concentration. Okay? When you are concentrating, you may have experienced it as you develop your concentration with the breathing meditation. Let's say breathing meditation, your mind settled on your breath, physical sensation disappears. Physical sensation disappears. And with that disappearing of physical sensation, what happens? We can sit for a longer time. There will be no sensation. There is no feelings at all. Like that. So the another way of dealing with that sensation or feeling is basically doing the higher state of a meditation. Okay? And so another way of dealing with this sensation is, again, replacing with other thing, which again, even nowadays using in the modern mindfulness courses, mindfulness intervention courses, they also use, when you are having this thought, replace with a good thought. When you are having a negative thought, think of a positive thought, replacing it. So that's also a way of doing it. Now, if you are really into it and want to investigate and read further more, in that replacement practice, there are 5 ways of doing it. And this is clearly mentioned in the sutta number, if I remember correctly, 19, called Dveda Vitakka Sutta, in this same book. Okay? And then there's another, early on I was not sure, but I managed to find out. There's another one discourse that explains different types of feelings. And that's on 59. Okay? So Sutta number 59 in this one, that explains that how many types of feelings are there.